Unity, comparing Unity teachings and the Coptic Fellowship. Now, since the time I first came to West Michigan to take up the role of minister at Unity of Grand Rapids, I met up with the presence of the Coptics. I'd never heard of it before. It seemed very odd and strange to me. First, I was confronted with Carl Franklin, who is a prominent leader in their organization, and his theme message is always about ascension, the ascension process. I didn't trust that either. I thought that sounded a little, I don't know, it just didn't ring with me. It does now. And then I was confronted with John Davis, who is the director of the whole organization. He's very strong on numerology. Well, I don't think numerology is part of the Unity conversation, so I ignored him. And then with congregants at the Unity Church of Grand Rapids who crossed over a lot, and some of them took me out to lunch to ask me how I felt about these things, and they quickly dropped me because I didn't resonate with it. I blew it off. So then, as time passed, I came over here to Unity of Muskegon, and I heard again these whisperings of the Coptics and what they were doing. And again, I turned a cold shoulder to the information, thinking that I don't want to get involved with weirdo organization promoting woo-woo malarkey. I was wrong, you know, dead wrong. At some point, Spirit seemed to whisper in my ear, go over to the Coptics and just see what they're doing. You know, part of my credo is keep the freedom to follow a wordless whisper. And on Sunday nights, I found myself second-guessing everything I did on Sunday and saying, oh, I didn't say hi to that person. Oh, I didn't say that loud enough. Oh, I forgot to say this. Oh, and making myself, you know, a nervous wreck. So I thought, I'm just going to go somewhere else on Sunday evenings. The Coptics have a gathering at 6 p.m. I think I'll go over there. And what did I find? I can tell you firsthand what the Coptics are all about and how it compares with what Unity is all about. So first of all, take a look at your program folder. On the cover, I got this off of the internet. This is the founder of the Coptic movement in America, this version of it, Master Hamid Bey. He was an Egyptian man who came over here specifically to inaugurate this movement, this spiritual movement. That's what he looked like. You know, he toured with Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. He toured with him as his opener. And what he would do is just give a little talk, a mini talk about spirituality. So more about that. Now, first, let me tell you how the organization came into being, I believe. Am I doing? Yeah. This is from their website. And bear with me, I'm going to read you a little bit of a biography, a story. Because the Coptics, like Unity, are very fond of their lore. We love to tell the story of the life of Charles Fillmore, how Charles Fillmore founded Unity, how it caught on, all the background experiences that they had that equipped them to do this marvelous work. It's very personal. You know, it's a story. Well, they have a story about their founder. And it goes like this. When Hamid Bey was a small boy, he and his parents met with a scholar who felt that he was a candidate for Coptic temple training, which exists in Egypt. His parents agreed. In Coptic temple training, Hamid was taught spiritual disciplines in emotional and mental control and meditation. As he grew in years, so did the advanced pace of his training. He was taught to enter a state of suspended animation. This was achieved by placing his body at complete command of his will. And that's what he did as sometimes for entertainment, for income. He actually was in vaudeville for a time when he first came to this country. He appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show one time, laying on a bed of nails. And because he was able to place his body at complete command of his will. So there were 6 temples of learning that Hamid passed through before he could enter the final temple, the temple of divine wisdom, it was called. In order to get to this temple, this is like a movie, it is necessary to swim the Nile and enter through a tunnel. The big test is that the Nile is infested with crocodiles. The only way to know whether crocodiles are in the murky water is to locate them by mind power. This is something Hamid and his classmates were taught in their previous years of intensive training. In this last temple, Hamid passed through the greatest and final test. There is a flower which does not grow anywhere in the world except deepest Central Africa, and it gradually opens and closes. When open, the perfume of the flower is a deadly poison to humans. It is a very pleasant fragrance. It's used to prove an initiate's physical and mental control. The flower is placed in the center of a series of 11 concentric circles. The 11th one is closest to the flower. The initiate begins with the outermost circle and must sit for 1 hour and keep his body independent of the poison, beginning with the outermost circle. The initiate earns a ring for each circle mastered. Hamid Bey made it to the 7th circle, which made him a 7-ring master. The rings were symbolically worn on his headdress for the rest of his life. When he attained the 7th degree, he felt that he should leave the temple and go out into the world. So at the age of 18, he returned home to his family in Cairo and joined the armed forces and served in World War I. After World War I, he decided to go to Italy to practice, to publicly demonstrate the powers he had learned in the temple training. He wanted to convince a skeptical world that there is much more to a man than the outer form. His intention was to place himself in a state of suspended animation and be buried alive, 6 feet underground for 3 days. So he did that for a while in Italy. But in 1927, the magician Houdini was attracting worldwide attention, and Hamid Bey was sent to the United States to challenge Houdini. Unfortunately, 3 weeks after he arrived, Houdini died. And then, not knowing any English or any of the customs, Hamid signed up as a vaudeville act under a binding 2-year contract, spent the next 2 years doing his act on stage. And after that experience, he became great friends with the Paramahansa Yogananda and traveled with him doing shows and lectures together. To maintain his temple rank of 7-ring master, Hamid had to return to Egypt every 7 years. When he returned in 1936, he had a great spiritual experience. He was taken astrally to the secret archive chamber of the Great Pyramid, and his true mission was revealed at that time, that he was to go to the United States, which was to become the new Holy Land, and establish the Coptic order. In 1937, Master Hamid Bey founded the Coptic Fellowship in Los Angeles, California. In the following years, Hamid dedicated his life to teaching the universal principles of right living throughout the United States. Now, we come to now. John Davis became the Midwest Coptic director in 1974. And they held their first national convention in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And John Davis is the man that we know. He's come and spoken here, and he's still the director. In 1976, Hamid Bey left his physical body for 2 reasons: that he realized people were not concentrating on learning the truth, but they were concentrating on his personality. He simply stopped his heart from beating. Before his transition, he chose John Davis to take over as national director. And today the Coptics are continually growing. They no longer stand on the threshold. They assert, we no longer stand on the threshold of the new age. We have proven ourselves and have stepped through it, threshold. The present Coptic Fellowship still follow the teachings of Hamid Bey and are universal in purpose. So now that's from their website about that says about the About Us designation. I still have a little bit more to read about the teachings themselves in a different spot of my talk here. There it is. Okay. So, very similar to the lore we in Unity hold about our founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They had an unusual background. They had an extraordinary education. They had spiritual revelation. They had miraculous demonstrations. And we hold it very dear. It's like a folk tale to us. It's published in our literature, and it's very recent. Most religious organizations do not have a direct initiator of their movement that's so recent, that's in the last century. But we share that with Coptics. Now, here are the qualities that I admire about the Coptic Fellowship that we also have in Unity. Number one, they do not use channeled material as their source teachings. We engage with channeled material. We don't have any obstacle to it. We don't have any restriction, but we don't use it as our source teachings, what we're founded on. Hamid Bey and Charles Fillmore both taught from their own inspiration, their own connection with the divine, and they very vehemently taught us to do the same. Hamid Bey and Charles Fillmore both emphasize in their writings and teachings, you have direct access to the divine. You don't need an intercessor. You don't need an interpreter. You can have all knowledge. You have the Christ mind in you. Okay. Now the second thing that we have, similar with them, the assertion that there is truth in all teachings and that all traditions and all religions hold truth for humankind. So inclusive, We say that there are many paths to God, but it's all the same God. There's only one God. We say that there are truth in all religions. The Coptics, one of their opening statements is always, we are not a religion, we are a universal philosophy of universal truth, and we welcome all teachings. So that's not always found in a religious organization. It can be very exclusive. What would you call parochialism? We have the one true way, and all their other ways won't work. We never say that. Neither do they. And number three, qualities that I admire about the Coptic Fellowship that we also have in Unity is they are first and foremost concerned with consciousness and the ability of the individual to experience consciousness expansion. So the work in the exercises, the emphasis in the Coptic gatherings are to identify your strengths within your own awareness and work in that domain, the domain of consciousness. In fact, when I get to the mission and vision statement, the word consciousness appears several times in that material. So that's the first thing that opened the door for me, because I was looking around saying, well, who can we partner with? Who can we share our walk with? Because religious organizations need to connect and network and cross over the lines of denominations. So I was looking for someone we could partner with, and there's the Coptics who talk consciousness all the time. I'm thinking, okay, that sounds good. That was my first inroad to there. Now, here are some differences that I find with the Coptics. And these are all organizational differences, okay? One is the ordination process. So for Unity, the ordination process is a number of credits that must be earned in specific classes that are online, that are 40 credit classes each. And you have to pay to keep the registration and the certification of these credits. And there's a whole 2, sometimes 3, depending on when it is, curriculum. And when you graduate, then you are given an ordination, and you are given a recognition to be a Unity leader in any Unity organization in the field. Well, in the Coptic organization, the ordination consists of 4 separate years of courses I've taken 2 of the courses. One course is called World Service Order Training, and that's the elementary one that encourages you to think of yourself as a service to the world order and a leader in that service, in service. So they ask you to discipline yourself, to have personal strength, to be able to speak publicly well, to know the teachings of Hamid Bey, and to be able to lead fearlessly. Then there are 3 more years. The final year is pretty much an apprentice year. I don't think there's actual classes meeting, but each year has 4 weekends of a session that you pay $150 or whatever the going rate is for that weekend. So it's not very expensive, all in all. Not nearly as expensive as going through Unity ordination work. It's a Unity, path to Unity ordination is a lifestyle that dominates your life for a couple of years. And you pay a lot of tuition. However, then when you get to ordination, there's an ordination fee with the Coptics. Ordination is given with Unity. And to maintain your name in the listing of ordained Coptic ministers, there's an annual fee for that. We don't have that. So it's really neither here nor there, but that's just one difference. And then there's a difference in looking at the path of service and what individual leadership, and how it's defined, how it's held. In the Coptic organization, the path of service is not defined as once you get ordained, you go out and lead a spiritual work. Once you get ordained, you can do any kind of work that you see yourself as desiring to. One person has a dance studio, Hans Klippheis. He's an ordained Coptic minister. He has a ballroom dance studio. And there's 2 ordained Coptic ministers. They have a health food store. There's ordained Coptic ministers that have this thing called Great Lakes Retreat once a year. That's their whole ministry, is to have a retreat at Olivet, Michigan. And I was asked to submit a proposal to do a presentation there, and I'm going to do that this summer. So yay. It's wonderful to partner with other organizations. And the idea of individual leadership, the way we see individual leadership, very similar to the path of service. In Unity, once you're the ordination work, the minister training consists of teaching you to lead a congregation, to be the CEO of a 501c3 corporation, to generate the program, to engage the people on a spiritual journey like we are doing. It's a congregation training. In Coptics, they see it as completely amorphous. There's no expectation. And you don't belong to them after you're ordained, after you finish the training. Like, you're free to just go off and do your own thing. You can come back and attend their gatherings if you want to. But it's a completely free form thing, and they think of leadership as whatever your gift, your passion is, to bring it forth. Then there's a big difference in the model of corporate structure between Unity and Coptics. First of all, you got to understand that place over there, the facility over in Grand Rapids, that is the national headquarters of the Coptic Fellowship now. And it's equivalent to our Unity Village. So you can see it's much smaller. Our Unity Village is a lot bigger. And it is a corporate entity that is not term limited. The board of directors are not elected, they're appointed. And the director is appointed by the previous director for life, or until such time as he gives it over to somebody else. That's kind of the way the corporate structure used to be for Unity Village, Unity School of Christianity. Then when the Association of Unity Churches branched out, they formed this corporate entity that is, the board of directors is elected. The president of the board is elected, and all the terms are limited by time. So those are 2 different corporate models. Unity's is the more, what would you call it, corporate one, and theirs is the more, I don't know what to call it, but it's in perpetuity. It is a permanent position, and they have roundtable discussions every year and invite key leaders within the group, like people who attend regularly, to join in their roundtable discussion to plan the future of their organization. And then, I love this one. You know, even though the teachings of Hamid Bey are written down and our teachings of Charles Fillmore are written down, once you're ordained to go out in the world, you don't have to follow any script. You know, it's not a scripted religion. Neither one of us is a scripted religion. It really promotes the creativity of each leader, of each ordained individual who feels called to service, to either borrow somebody else's work and use it or create their own. Nobody supervises that. And I so love that. I so love the fact, especially about Unity, that it's not a scripted religion, although we have a lot of support, do we not? We have our daily work. We have our Unity magazine. We have the websites. We have people teaching all over the place, but there's so much originality there. Each Unity minister is creating their own work, as is with the Coptics. Now, just to give you a little taste of what their actual ideas feel like here. This is from the division on their website called Our Mission. Coptics demonstrate and teach the principles of balanced, positive, loving, and joyful living, promote the idea of at-one-ment with all of life, and assist in the transformation of humanity through universal consciousness, one person at a time. Could you say the same about us? Absolutely. The name Coptic refers to the early Christian faith of the Egyptians. It is, in every sense, Christian. It interferes in no way with any denominational or religious belief. Coptic may be regarded as the application of these ethical, moral, cultural, and physical principles which form the basis of religion in its practical aspect. A little hairy beard, okay. So now, the teachings center on harmonious living, which is possible only through balance. The balance of coordinated development between spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical aspects of human nature. And that's in Hamid Bey's original writings. He's talking about that all the time. The physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our nature, and bringing them into balance and well-being. We do too. Okay. Love in its wholeness is that balance. We believe that love shall be the central theme of the newly awakened consciousness. There's that word. In order to assist others to a better life, it is first necessary that we ourselves begin to master the art of living. We therefore apply the teachings within ourselves before we attempt to aid others. And that's the end of that. So I want to ask you, you know, we have a website, and on our website it has our mission, vision, values. It has our story, how we were founded. It has our about our spiritual community, and the heading of that is how church must change to meet the future. We have prayers on there. We have a meditation. We have a special section on if you have experienced the loss of a loved one. We have a little bio about the minister. We have our current activities. So I invite you to take a look at our website, because, and also we want to update our website because, well, let me finish that statement. I invite you to take a look at our website because that is the consciousness that is leading energetically our work, you know? We have a service within the Unity Movement to have a facilitator come here and hold gatherings where we collectively articulate a mission and vision and values statement that is crafted by all of our voices, all of those who want to be involved. And we can do that. There is a charge for it. But since I first came here, I wanted us to have something stated that creates momentum for us, that gives us a direction, that gives us an identity, that gives us purpose and momentum to our work here, to our spiritual path. So the simplest form of our mission and vision is just that little motto: we are a spiritual family on a journey of love. That really says it all. And you always need that. You always need to set your vision, to set your intention, to create a future, to create momentum for your ideals and aspirations. So you see that here we have this entity here, Unity of Muskegon, a spiritual family on a journey of love. Know this and be blessed by it. Thank you. Amen. Thank you. Very powerful statement today. The truth is revealed, and I receive it within. So let's take some deep breaths, giving thanks for this time in the silence, meditation in the inner closet. Time where we experience illumination, where we access revelation. Only for us, uniquely revealed for our own needs. So let's vocalize together this affirmation. I'll say it one time, and then let's join together. The truth is revealed, and I receive it. Together. The truth is revealed, and I receive it. And we give thanks that we are ready. We are surrendered. We are open and listening. Our hearts are aligned with divine love. Our minds are cleansed of any separation, error, or turbulence. Our bodies are filled with healing life activity, purifying and cleansing every fiber of our being. It is done. And it is done for all those we are connected with. And it is done for all humanity. Right here, right now. This is how powerful we are. And so as we discover this truth, we rest now in the silence. And so we give thanks that we are the light. That light is pure love. And these mysteries we behold. Amen.